Riverside was a quiet little town where every evening felt peaceful, and everyone knew the loyal dog named Max. But that peaceful night suddenly turned terrifying as the strongest storm in years arrived without warning.
Max, come back, Max!
While everyone else ran away from danger, Max did the impossible. He ran straight into the storm. Deep inside the flooded woods, Max discovered something no one expected: a little girl trapped and completely alone. With the flood rising every second, Max risked his own life to help save the terrified child. Then disaster struck again, and without hesitation, Max leaped into the deadly floodwaters. The current was strong enough to kill them both, but Max refused to let her go.
Max, hold on, Bob! We're industrial bond! Almost there! Grab my hand!
After hours of fighting the storm, they finally found hope in a small cabin hidden on the hill. When the little girl's parents finally arrived, they couldn't believe who had saved her life.
Oh, Mama, you're safe. Thank you so much.
She was a real hero.
Look how high it is!
The wind is perfect today.
The town of Riverside had always been peaceful. Small houses lined the streets. Children played outside every evening. And everyone knew a golden retriever named Max. Max belonged to Ethan, a quiet widowed fisherman who lived near the riverbank. Ever since Ethan lost his wife years ago, Max had become his only family. Every morning, the two walked together through town. Everyone loved Max because he was gentle, loyal, and strangely intelligent. But one evening, everything changed. Dark clouds swallowed the sky faster than anyone expected. The wind became violent. Rain slammed against windows. Emergency alerts screamed from every phone. Flash flood warning. Seek high ground immediately. People panicked. Stores closed instantly. Cars filled the roads. And the river beside town began rising higher and higher. Ethan quickly packed essentials into his truck. "Come on, Max," he shouted. But Max didn't move. The dog stood completely still near the front porch, staring toward the distant forest beside the river. Then he started growling softly. Ethan looked confused. Another thunderstrike shook the entire neighborhood. "Max!" But suddenly, the dog bolted into the storm, straight toward the flooded woods. "Max!" Ethan screamed as rain soaked his clothes instantly. Without thinking, he chased after him. Branches whipped violently in the wind. Mud pulled at Ethan's boots. But Max kept running deeper into the forest. The river nearby roared louder than Ethan had ever heard before. Water was already flooding the lower trails. Then Max stopped suddenly. He barked wildly near a fallen tree. At first Ethan saw nothing. Then, a faint cry. Tiny. Weak. A child. Ethan's heart froze. Behind the fallen tree, partially trapped in rising floodwater, was a little girl no older than 6. She was terrified and shaking uncontrollably. "Help," she whispered. The storm had separated her from her family during the evacuation, and now water was rapidly rising around her. Ethan rushed forward, trying to lift the tree branch trapping her leg. But it wouldn't budge. The floodwater climbed higher. Time was running out. Then Max did something unbelievable. The dog pushed himself under the heavy branch and used his entire body to help lift it. Just enough. Ethan pulled the little girl free seconds before a powerful wave crashed through the area. If they had been 1 minute later, she would have died. Ethan carried the little girl through the storm while Max guided them through the dark woods. But disaster struck quickly. A loud cracking sound echoed nearby. Part of the riverbank collapsed. Water exploded across the trail. Ethan lost his footing and slammed into the mud. The child slipped from his arms. "No!" Before Ethan could reach her, Max leaped directly into the raging floodwater. The current was unbelievably strong. The dog disappeared beneath the surface for terrifying seconds. Then suddenly, Max emerged beside the little girl. He grabbed her jacket gently with his teeth and fought against the rushing water with everything he had. Ethan crawled forward desperately and managed to pull them both to safety. The little girl coughed violently, but was alive. Max collapsed onto the ground, exhausted and trembling. But even then, he stood back up. The storm wasn't over yet. The wind became even worse as night fell. Visibility was nearly impossible. Ethan knew they wouldn't survive long in the freezing rain. Then Max barked toward a distant hill. Far away, a small cabin light flickered through the storm. Hope. Using the last of their strength, they climbed uphill through mud and debris. Inside the cabin lived an elderly couple who immediately brought them inside. The little girl wrapped herself in blankets near the fireplace while Ethan checked Max carefully. The dog's paw was bleeding badly from broken debris in the floodwater. Still, Max stayed beside the child the entire night, never leaving her side once. Hours later, emergency rescue teams finally reached the cabin. The little girl's parents arrived crying uncontrollably when they saw her alive. Her mother collapsed to her knees hugging Max. "You saved her. You saved our baby." Even the rescue workers were emotional. But the biggest surprise came next. One rescue officer recognized the little girl immediately. The entire town had been searching for her for hours. Helicopters, police teams, volunteers. Nobody could find her in the storm. But somehow, one dog had. The story spread across town overnight. News reporters arrived the next morning. Everyone wanted to see the heroic dog who risked his own life during the deadly flood. But Max didn't care about attention. He simply rested quietly beside Ethan. For the first time in years, Ethan smiled again. Because deep down, he realized something. Max hadn't just saved the little girl. He had saved Ethan too. From loneliness. From grief. From a life without hope. Days later, the storm finally passed. The town gathered in Riverside Park for a special ceremony honoring the rescuers. But the loudest applause wasn't for the officials. It was for Max. Children held handmade signs that read, "Hero Dog." The mayor placed a special medal around Max's neck while the crowd cheered loudly. The little girl hugged him tightly. And for a moment, it felt like the entire town stood still. Because everyone realized they had witnessed something rare. Pure loyalty. Pure courage. A heart willing to risk everything for someone else. Even in the middle of a deadly storm. Sometimes heroes don't wear uniforms. Sometimes they have 4 legs, muddy paws, and hearts bigger than the storm itself. And on the darkest night Riverside had ever seen, one brave dog reminded everyone what true love really looks like. Musical note in screen text. Would you risk everything to save someone?